Look out below. We're in mid-February and it's 60 degrees because Tennessee weather. And we're going to feed Dogga, and the sheep are ready for another bale of hay. So I'm going to jump on the tractor and take a bale of hay to them and then unroll it and let them have some breakfast. And then we're probably going to go cut down some trees and make some more silvo pasture, because next week I'm having hopefully the last seed that I ever have to buy for this farm delivered from co-op. I got clover and fescue and orchard grass, and I'm gonna sow that in the places that I've cleared, and hopefully the sheep pee and the sheep poop have changed the pH and the nutrition levels of the soil enough that this clover and grass will take and start to propagate, and I won't have to keep buying seed. That's the goal, is to not have to buy any more seed ever for this farm. Almost 2 years ago, I actually paid a guy to come in with a bulldozer because it's much faster, again, right? And this is a huge paddock. It would have took me 2 years to get this clean, but he came in here in 2 days with a bulldozer, and I had to write a big check for that. But I wanted to see, is it really better to do it the fast way? And then all the rest of the farm, I haven't had a bulldozer on at all. So this is 2 years ago. You can see the humongous brush piles that he piled up with the bulldozer and the excavator. And I have not noticed that there's any more grass in here than there is in the areas that I've done. There's definitely no stumps. It's going to wind up being smoother. But since we're not going to be running tractors with plows and discs and stuff like that over this all the time, I don't really care if there's stumps or not. Right. So I've got this bale strategically placed at the top of this hill, and I've already done this probably 5 different angles. And so each time I put a bale up here, the sheep, they'll see me in a second and they'll come running, but I try to angle it a different direction so that when I unroll it, it lays down that hay on a different bare part of the pasture. And they're going to eat probably 60, 70% of it, but the other 20, 30, 40% is not going to be wasted. It's going to feed the worms. Kind of like Abby said, the big brush piles protected the animals, but when there's a big pile of hay in the pasture, think about this. When it's 10 degrees here, underneath that hay is excellent insulation, right? And so the ground underneath that pile of hay is 50 degrees. And so the earthworms can come right up to that. And in the dead of winter, they can be eating away and then leaving earthworm poop everywhere. And they're going to obviously bring bacteria and fungus and other stuff that can actually operate under this hay even in the dead of winter. And so I'm hoping to see a big burst in fertility come this spring in this field. Come on, sheep, sheep. They're like, hey, what's he doing over there? Hey, Dogga. Dogga loves to get on the hay. It's so funny. Come on, sheep, sheep. All right, ready for my CrossFit? Look out below. And that's it. Sorry, buddy, sorry. So our sheep are mostly St. Croix. And we've got some Katahdin, and we have a little bit of Barbados. And mixing them, it's so funny how we started out with a pure white flock, which I could care less about. But now every new baby, you never know if they're gonna have spots, splotches, or spots, what they're gonna look like. And I actually like that way better. And I think that protects them in a more wildlife situation, they're more camouflaged than just basically a white target for a coyote to be like, hey, what's that white thing over there, right? They kind of break it up. See how this ewe looks like she's got a mane? Mm-hmm. But that's a ewe. Sometimes they'll do that too, and I'm not sure why. But that girl's a perfect St. Croix. Look at her. I mean, she is fat and meaty and happy, and she's doing great. She's had 2 or 3 twins. She's one of our original girls. And so she's doing great, but they just look a little bit different, which, again, I don't care about. Dog has got to pee on the hay bale. That's just standard. The sheep business, the cattle business, the farm business is just like any other business. There are people who will bilk you. They will skim off the top. They will take advantage of you, especially if you're new. They'll see just how much they can get away with. You cannot be naive. If you go into this and somebody's like, hey, I got hay for sale for $30 a bale, you need to be like, that's really cheap. Who else have you sold hay to? If they tell you a name or two, then you're going to Facebook message them or call them and say, hey, you bought hay from so-and-so. Is it good hay? Does he deliver? Does he, is this good stuff for my animals? And you'll quickly get the truth, because farmers like to help other farmers, especially if you're just starting. And they'll be like, hell no, don't buy hay from him. There ain't no telling what's in that. Or, oh yeah, he's a good guy. He'll shoot you straight. So my brush piles are not as big as the bulldozer brush piles, but they're still pretty impressive, I like to think. So this is shaping up to be our best pasture right now. And where the brush piles are, that's where the forest used to begin when we bought this property. And now you can see that I've cleared out about 40, 50 feet back into the woods. And we're going to go down here and I'm going to show you how I do this with my little electric chainsaw. Go ahead and make fun of me. I don't even care. I hate the smell of gasoline. There's already orchard grass growing underneath these pine trees and these trees. But before, there was no grass there. It was just leaves this thick. I think it used to be a horse pasture. And so it remembers kind of what I wanted to do. Whereas the other was farmed with a plow and a disc for decades, maybe a century. But this is quickly turning back into pasture, silvopasture, because there's still trees in here. Let's go cut a tree. Some of the old timers call this ironwood, some hop hornbeam. It's got several names, but it's got a very dense canopy, so almost no sunlight can get through. It never gets big enough that you can use it for lumber, but it shades so much ground. Now, it is good for one thing, and so for those of you who want to inoculate and grow mushrooms on your farm, hop hornbeam is actually really, really good for that. And so my brother down in Waynesboro, Tennessee, he's doing that. So a lot of times I'll save him these logs. I cut them in 4-foot sections. But this guy's going in the brush pile today. The top's wanting to move around a little, so I'm going to let it settle while we carry this puppy. A lot of times I'll start a brush pile where there's an old cedar stump that I know is not going to rot for 100 years, so I don't have to get the tractor out here and push it up. I just make a brush pile on top of it. Some days I'll do 20 or 30 trees. I'll go full speed for 30 minutes, take a break, go back at it. Other days, if I don't have time, I'll do 5 trees and that's it. In another 2 years, this will be beautiful, verdant silvopasture. So I've got 2 hours of video in our private group I've got to go back and do now. And then if there's enough daylight, I'll come back, but there probably won't be. There's also, I got an invite to join a Facebook Live in Progress about a Tennessee political issue. So I may potentially have 2.5 hours of video when I get back to the house, which is fine with me because I talk for a living. That's what I do. I talk and teach, and I'm good at both. So also cutting trees. I'm not an expert, but I enjoy it. See ya.